Hey everybody, this is Candace Yvette with Blackwomenaware. First, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who comes by and supports my page. It really does mean a lot to me. If you all can please press the like or dislike button and subscribe, comment, or even email me if you have any suggestions, questions, or concerns. My email is always going to be in the description box. Again, thank you for visiting my channel. Hey guys, it's Candace Yvette with Blackwomenaware. So I had to jump in real quick and give this message. First, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for visiting my page. Thank you for showing support and being concerned about the injustices that Black women and children face every day in the United States. I really do appreciate your support. You don't know how much that means to me, especially because I myself am a Black woman. I'd also like to put this quick disclaimer out there. Do not come to my page victim shaming or blaming. You will be immediately blocked for that. I do not tolerate it. There is no need for it. And I'm pretty sure you knew what you were saying in the comment before you posted it. So be respectful. Many of the victims, their families come back and they visit this page. I am their advocate. This is their safe space. No disrespect will be tolerated. You all have a good day. I'm going to let you go back into the commentary. Every 5.5 hours in the United States of America, a Black woman or child is murdered. Stop killing Black women. Stop killing Black children. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Candace Yvette with Blackwomenaware. So before we get into this, I had to, for the third time, delete and re-upload this video because of editing issues. I do apologize. Some of the viewers were getting back to me and saying, hey, they couldn't understand what I was saying and things like that. So I do apologize for that. Now, usually before I upload, I do take a final look. I'll watch the whole video through and look for anything that I feel like needs to be re-edited or taken out. And must have been something I missed in the last video. So again, I do apologize. This is the re-upload and edit of the video, and we're going to get back into it. When I first seen this story the other night, I'm like I am with a lot of these stories, I'm very heartbroken. Jennifer's story really like hit my heartstrings for really specific things. It just hit home for me. I'm going to get into that later. First, we're going to read the article and then I'll give my commentary. Okay. So 32-year-old Jennifer Bellony and her 15-year-old daughter, Anastasia of North Lauderdale, Florida, were shot to death by ex-husband Andre Anglin. You guys, if you hear me pause a lot when I'm reading these articles, that is because when I come up on certain words, I have to substitute another word or term in for whatever word that the article is using because of the YouTube algorithm and the bots. So I have to think of something and hurry up and insert it and take out whatever word that I feel like those bots will, they won't push my video as hard if I say certain words, okay? So that's why you'll hear me pause, but let's continue on. Deputies responded to a townhouse complex on the 7900 block of Tam O'Shanter Boulevard just after 9 a.m. Wednesday, April 13th of 2022, where they found two victims on the scene. Emergency crews located two victims that had been shot, said Gertie St. Louis of BSO. Those victims were Jennifer and her daughter Anastasia, pronounced deceased or DOA. Homicide and crime scene detectives were notified and are currently investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting. Andre Anglin, 34, against whom Jennifer Bellony took out a domestic violence restraining order in February of 2018 that remained in place until Bellony didn't show up for a hearing on April 4th of 2018. She showed up the next day, April 5th of 2018. So I'm guessing that this young woman probably had something to do on the 4th and just couldn't get there. So it was, something she probably had to do, and she probably had to put it off to the next day, because don't nobody let a restraining order go expire and then they back the next day to get it back reinstated. That doesn't tell me that she didn't care. That tells me that she probably had something to do on the 4th and just couldn't get there on the 4th. So she showed up the very next day. That shows me that restraining order really meant something to her. Okay, let's continue on. She showed up the next day, April 5th of 2018, and got the restraining order reinstated until April 17th of 2018. So I'm guessing she probably had a court date on April 17th. I'm not too sure about the reinstatement of restraining orders, because my own personal DV situation, because there was a lack of evidence when we took it to trial. It was more like his word against mine, or my word against his. It really wasn't my word. Even though the case involved me, I did not push the charges. In the state where I live, the prosecutors pushed the charges. Okay, so it was really the prosecutor's word against my ex's word, and I was just a witness for the prosecutor. And since they didn't have enough evidence, they did not reinstate my restraining order. But I'm guessing when they said the restraining order was reinstated on April 17th of 2018, I'm thinking that was probably for like a court date, so she could go before the judge and tell the judge why she felt like the restraining order needed to stay in place. Okay, so let me keep going. Anglin, who received probation after a domestic violence incident in 2009, Anglin also received, probation after a domestic violence incident in 2009. Detectives don't have a last known address for Anglin, but they know he's often in Margate. Online Broward County records say Anglin was living in the 6700 block of Sierra Club Drive in Lauderhill when he got traffic tickets in July and October of last year. One case entry says Anglin stands about 5'10". If you have any information on Anglin, call Broward County Crime Stoppers. That number is 954-493-TIPS. Our strong prayers go out to the Bellony family, and hope and pray they get justice for Anastasia and Jennifer. Okay, so this guy has been elusive. And he's probably one of those guys who is like a nomad, probably don't really have nowhere to go, and just gives them like his next of kin address. Usually it's the person's mother, and they give them those addresses. And because I'm wondering how that works. Like, if you don't know that somebody put out a restraining order on you, I don't think the restraining order isn't active just because you don't receive a copy of it. But I believe, like, if he was to go in court and he didn't receive a copy of the restraining order, and like, say somebody has a restraining order against you and you don't receive a copy, and you go around that person, or sometimes in certain restraining orders they have it to where you cannot go to where the person works. And so, for example, let's say that person worked at a commonly used grocery store, and you go to that grocery store and the person calls the police on you or whatever. He could probably argue in court, I never knew she took this restraining order out on me. But past that, I'm kind of curious and wondering what benefit like that served him. You know what I'm saying? Because they said they really didn't know where he lived, So let me go up a little bit as I'm reading this article. They said they only knew his whereabouts. They did not know exactly where he lived. And on that bit of it, I believe that they truly failed this young lady and her daughter, because I personally believe whenever one individual has to take a restraining order out on another individual, they should change the laws to where Like if this individual is just using somebody's address as their mailing address, or you're coming back as a police officer or a detective, or just a spokesperson for a department, and you're saying, hey, we know he stays on this side of town. We don't really know where he lives, but he often uses this address. I don't feel like that's good enough. And if something happens to that person who had to get that restraining order, I feel like part of the blame should go on the police department, and they should have to pay out for whatever happens to that person, because it should be like, and maybe this is just me, maybe I'm just having high hopes or whatever, but I think personally, if I have to take a restraining order out on somebody, and usually like restraining orders are not just handed out, you have to have evidence that the other party is a harm to you, especially when y'all have kids together, because there's custody, there's a lot that goes into that. You're going to have to eventually see each other at some point down the line if y'all have children together. So I believe they should put it to where, hey, you give us a legit address. And if this isn't your legit address, if we can't pop up over here and see and have proof that you're living here, then you can be locked up if you lied to us about where you live. Like, I believe something should be done with that, because just knowing his whereabouts and him having a mailing address and he has an active restraining order against him, that further put this young lady in danger. And it's because of what I told y'all. He could lie in front of the judge and say, hey, they have a previous address of where I live. They don't have the current one. I never knew I had a restraining order. So when I went to Miss Bellony's property to see my children, I didn't know, and she called the police on me. And you know what I'm saying? I'm wondering how that would play into his benefit. Like, why would he not give them, and I'm not even saying he wouldn't give them the right address, but the article says Anglin also received probation after another. So he had another domestic violence incident in 2009. This is almost 10 years later that he was abusing this young lady. So 9 years prior to 2018, when Bellony was getting her restraining order reinstated, this guy has a history basically of putting his hands on people. Okay, so detectives, and it also says, it goes on to say, detectives don't have a last known address for Anglin. That right there I have a problem with, because how are y'all a part of the, next to the military, there's the police departments and the FBI and all that stuff. How y'all got all this stuff, all these resources at y'all fingertips, but y'all can't go out and find this man and put the pressure on him, put his feet to the fire to allow y'all to know where he's really staying, or get your ass locked up? Because if you've been abusing women, or abusing anybody for that matter, and this person, it's women, it's countless charges being brought up against you, and then this woman, she not only had a restraining order against you, but she had to come out and make sure that certain restraining order stays in place. I don't know about Florida, but up in the Midwest where I'm from, restraining orders for violent people like this, they reinstate them every 2 years. So I don't know how long, like if in Florida it's every year or every 2 years, or how it goes in Florida. I might have to look it up and get educated on it. But my point is the fact that this guy has a history of being violent, and it says detectives don't have a last known address for Anglin, that's a problem for me. That is a problem for me, because it then puts that victim in further danger. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe she has to have an address to where she can send, when you go to petition, you have to know the address of the person and where they live, or they last known, or you know what I'm saying? You have to know something. And once that other person gets served, they have to be notified as well that they have a restraining order against them. And the only thing that frustrates me about restraining orders, even though I'm for restraining orders, the only thing that upsets me about restraining orders is it gives the whereabouts of the victim. And I know y'all probably thinking like, Candace, they gotta have the whereabouts so that the other party know where not to come. I get that, but it also gives that, especially if this person is a dangerous person, it also gives that person the heads up, like, hey, if in case, especially if you moved, it gives that other party the heads up, and she live on the east side now, she live on the west side now, so they stalking you still. You know what I mean? The only thing that I said, because I have a video on my page about restraining orders, the only thing that I said that restraining orders can do that works towards your benefit is if somebody comes around you, they've been properly served. You know, the police ain't got to go on this cat and mouse chase to find out where they live. They've been served. They know that they have this restraining order against them. They can't come to your job. They can't come to where you live. They can't come around the kids unless it's visitation set up and all. And they come around you. Where it works to your benefit is if you like me and you had to go on and get your CCW, you know what I mean? And you to the point where you like, you know what, I ain't running no more. If something happens and when the dust settle, one of us is pushing daisies, and that's just what it's going to be, but it ain't going to be me. Then I'm telling you, when you go, because it's even one thing that I learned when I took self-defense classes for my my shoot 'em up bang bang. One thing that I learned when I took self-defense classes is even if you unalive somebody in self-defense, it could cost you up to $250,000 fighting that case. They still have to prove that you did it in self-defense. And sometimes self-defense is hard to prove because you could be in a situation like you could be in a situation and say this person came over your house and they beating you up. They got you on the floor. They done tackled you down. They kicking you and stomping you. And say the minute you reach for your shoot 'em up bang bang, say the minute you reach for it, they turned around and walking towards the front door. You don't know if they walking towards the front door to go back to the car to get a weapon to finish you off. You don't know what they doing, but they're walking away from you, right? The minute that they're walking away from you and you use that shoot 'em up bang bang and you unalive this person, that's where the defense, that's a crack for the defense to wriggle in and say, hey, it's no longer self-defense. Because in those moments where the defendant or the culprit was walking away from you, you could have jumped out the window. You could have called the police. You know, they use stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But if you had to do that, say, you know, in the situation that I'm encouraging y'all to take is get that piece of paper in place and keep it reinstated is, hey, even if he was walking away and he was turning away from you, judge, yes, I acknowledge that this person was walking away from me, but he has prior instances. I've proven to the court where he has prior instances of abusing me, and he ain't even supposed to be on the property. This nigga's supposed to be 1,000 feet away. This piece of paper signed off by yourself, judge, says that this man ain't even supposed to be on my property. So what is he doing over there? He know he ain't supposed to be over there. You know what I mean? That's where the restraining order works to your benefit. Because no matter how hard the defense come, they cannot go against what a judge signed off on and said, well, he has kids. And that's why no, because it's going to specify when and where y'all should meet up, what times and all of that in the restraining order. Restraining orders can even specify finances. And I go over all of that stuff in my restraining order video. So if you just scroll down and excuse the cussing, you know, because sometimes this stuff riles me up, you will know all about what restraining orders can and can't do for you. Okay, because it doesn't just protect you from the person. Restraining orders can stop and start things to your favor. Okay, it's very unfortunate. I don't know what happened to where this man felt like he was God and he can go search this woman and their daughter down. You got to be a crazy kind of fool to unalive your own child. Something is seriously wrong with you. You're a demon. You know what I'm saying? You're a demon. That's the only way I could see you, you know? But anyways, it has to be something seriously wrong for this man to hunt this lady out knowing he has this restraining order against him. He didn't care, y'all, is basically what I'm trying to say. He did not care. When he went over there, the fact that she The article says she reinstated a restraining order. That tells me that she had one in place and she was getting it reinstated. So this fool been dangerous. He hadn't changed, because usually, like I said, restraining orders are 2 years. People do change. You know what I'm saying? I have a family member, and I don't advocate for no abuser. This isn't me advocating for an abuser, but I have a family member who has kids by a man, and this man used to beat the brakes off of her. And one time, like me and a whole bunch of my family members, we showed up. We had to, it got so bad, y'all. It got so bad to the point where we did like an intervention, a family intervention. And we basically decided, as hard as it was, we were not going to talk to this family member until she stopped dealing with this toxic man, because we were convinced that the man was going to unalive her, right? Now, he eventually changed and they broke up, but he got himself together. He got a job. He started providing for his children and doing everything that he needed to do. He changed. So basically, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because this Anglin dude, he had time to go get anger management. He had time to go see a therapist. He had time to get himself together. Possibly not to be with Bellony again, because don't no woman want to go back to being with no man and you done struggled and everything to get away from this fool. You ain't trying to look for no relationship. She probably only wanted to co-parent with him, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? If you right enough in the head to where I could just co-parent with you on the benefit and basis of this child, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to be together. I don't want you back, nothing. I highly doubt that she wanted him back in a relationship. But anyways, he didn't use that time for that, y'all. That anger was just brewing and brewing because he lost control of this woman. And from what I've researched about Bellony, Jennifer Bellony had it going on. Jennifer Bellony was popping. She was on her way, y'all. She was on her way. I've watched, she was a young entrepreneur. I believe she was launching her own clothing line. Y'all, I have a sister who fought breast cancer, and basically she's a millionaire today. My sister is a millionaire. She travels all over the world. And when I seen Jennifer Bellony's TikTok video, my sister has done business with celebrities. I'm not going to name no celebrities. I'm not going to name my sister for obvious reasons, but my sister has done business with some of the biggest celebrities and stuff like that. So when I seen Jennifer's TikToks and her pushing her clothing, like even the logo, I knew. I said, oh, she on to something. She on to something. I seen like a miniature version of my sister coming up in that young lady. And it's so unfortunate that her life ended. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know the reasoning or why this man did what he did. You know what I'm saying? It's very unfortunate that her life had to come to an end the way it did, and she could not fully blossom and live her life and, reach her full potential, especially her daughter. You know what I'm saying? How you take your own daughter out? That's crazy to me. That's crazy. But the only thing I can think of is he was probably upset because he had lost control of this woman. And this woman had found sometimes these dangerous men, these exes and things, they do not like when they see the woman flourishing without them. Because it's not about seeing you, it's not about them. Some of them are jealous. Let's be honest. Some of them are jealous when they see these women out here popping. They got the latest gear. They buying houses. They not just buying cars and clothes now. Women, especially black women, are not just buying houses and cars and clothes now. Black women are buying houses and owning their own business and stuff. So when he probably seen her popping and living it up without him, let me tell y'all why these abusive men don't like it when these abused women come out of these relationships and they blow up. They don't like it because they realize like that, him seeing her at her best, or I don't even think that was her best. I think she was on her way to her best. She was just budding. She was just getting started. She had not come into full bloom yet. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think when he seen that, it further reminded him who the problem was. Like, oh, okay, she couldn't prosper and do all of that with me, but now that she's not with me, she's blowing up, she's doing good. You know what I'm saying? That further allows a person to know that they were the problem. And as we know, it's a lot of men, especially in the Black community, who do not want to admit to themselves that they're the problem. It's a haughty spirit, it's a prideful thing, and it's an egotistical thing. It takes a lot to break down the barriers, because they talk about women having these brick walls around their hearts. If I know anybody who got brick walls around their shit and they lie about who they really are, it is the collective of Black men. Black men will not admit that they are a huge part of the reason why the Black community is, I would say they're about 95% of the reason why the Black community is where it is today. And they don't want to admit that. They'll blame men of no color. They'll blame Black women. In this relationship, he was mad because he couldn't control her. And she, she probably was more of a benefit to him in that relationship than what he was to her. You know what I'm saying? Even with the kids, some of these women, when they leave these relationships, they prosper even though they have children. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times these women will get in these relationships and they'll believe, oh, okay, if I leave, I'm not going to be able to provide for my children without this toxic waste with me. But some of these women, like Miss Jennifer Bellony, as y'all can see, you know what I'm saying? Jennifer Bellony was popping. She was on to it. She had the right attitude. She was pushing her brand. She had messages on her social media accounts talking about no matter how hard it was going to get, she was going to continue to go. She was going to continue to show up and do what she had to do to make things work for herself, her brand, and her children. So that is a huge loss. It ain't just a huge loss to her family. It's a huge loss for Black women. You know what I'm saying? And y'all probably thinking, oh, how is this woman a loss to Black women? It's not just about clothes. It's about inspiring the younger generation of Black women that are coming up behind us. Imagine the testimony that Jennifer Bellony could have given the younger Black women coming up behind her. So yes, it is a loss. Whenever we lose one of these Black women like this, it is a loss. Okay. My heart's well wishes, my prayers are with the family of Jennifer Bellony. If she has a GoFundMe or anything, I'm encouraging the family to get a hold of me. Send that link to my email. My email will always be in the description box below. If anybody wants to, email me and maybe interview with me to further tell us about Jennifer and the life she led, also, just hit me up in my inbox, my email. I'm always here for families. This is what this channel is for. Y'all be safe, be alert, and be aware. If you're a young Black woman and you're trying to escape a domestic violence situation, have a plan A, plan B, and plan C intact. Know what you gonna do if one situation don't work out, and when you leave, there is no turning back. Okay. And I feel like, because I often tell y'all that I am a Christian. I believe in God. I have Christian values. I don't do everything right. I admit that. I'm not fake and phony over here. I'm not holier than thou over here. I'm real and raw over here. But, I always talk about my discernment. So the one thing that I'm seeing in my discernment as I give this message about once you leave, do not go back. I see a young woman. And I'm not prophesying to nobody, but I see a young woman who leaves. She get the courage to leave, and then once a little bit of adversity hits you, you don't know where you and the kids gonna sleep. You're not comfortable going to a domestic violence shelter. You're willing to take a beating and go back and be with that man. I'm telling you right now, that's not the way to go. Stick it the fuck out. If you got to be uncomfortable for a few weeks or even months in the shelter, if you have to go, I had to do it. You listening to a woman who had to do it. I had to leave state. I had to jump states with not one, but two children. One who is on the autism spectrum. Okay. And when I jumped the first time and I jumped states, I had to leave the state with $60 to my name. Imagine that. Leaving with 2 kids, $60 to my name. I got to split this in between feeding my kids and gas money and getting us out of the state that we were in. That's not easy, y'all. That's not easy. Did I face a lot of hell? Did we go through a lot of trauma? Yes, we did. But were we alive at the end of it? Yes, we were. I didn't make that list. I've never been so happy in my life to not make a list. And the list I'm talking about is the Black femicide list. I didn't make the list. I didn't make the cut. I did not make the cut. And it's because I fought. It's because even when things got scary and I had to jump from one shelter to the next, I fought. It's because when my family, I had to even go into seclusion from them. And some days I felt like I was going crazy because I felt so alone and I had nothing with me but God, the good Lord, to keep carrying me on. I still fought in cities and states that I didn't know and scared of the people, scared. You know what I'm saying? Because you always on edge. You don't trust nobody. It was years after I left my ex, I would still take a secret route home. I never just went straight home. I would go and then I would cut corners. I would go all the way out, come back in, cut another corner, go through an alley because I didn't want nobody knowing where I lived. I barricaded me and my kids in the house. I used to block the windows with furniture, scared that at night somebody is going to find, because the house I lived in before I left, the city and state where I was raised and came up in, before I left, the house that I lived in, it had a window that would not lock. And so I took the heaviest piece of furniture that I had. I had an armoire dresser. Took the heaviest piece of furniture that I had and I barricaded it. I was not always CCW licensed. I did not always have my CCW license. I wasn't always trained in self-defense. So what did I use to, in case this person wanted to stalk me and show up at my job or my house? Lighter fluid. I would keep lighter fluid and a lighter on the porch. True story. I didn't trust nobody. And when you did ask too many questions, you would see the roughness come out of me. And I didn't realize that I was being so hard up on people until I was in a rough city, y'all. I was in, I'm not going to tell y'all where I was, but I'm just going to give y'all an example of where I was because this city was very similar to the Chi, but I was in a city like Chicago. And anybody who's from Chicago, especially the South Side, them is some rough and tough motherfuckers on the South Side of Chicago. So imagine being on the South Side of Chicago and you a small town girl and you so rough on people that you making them cry when you talk to them. That's how rough I was. I took no prisoners. You know what I mean? I didn't trust nobody. I didn't know who knew who and who would go back and get a word. Hey, she in this city. You know what I'm saying? I didn't trust nobody. It got so bad to where, because his sister, my ex's sister, and my family came up together. This is his half sister, because his papa was a Rolling Stone. He had more than one baby mama. So his sister, came up really with my family more than what she did with my ex, even though my ex was her whole brother. You know what I mean? And I used to threaten her all the time because I sold, I still bake to this day, but I don't really sell anything like I used to because, like I said, there's just too much going on. But anyways, I used to threaten her, y'all. Used to threaten her. And I'm not talking about no beat you up in the street on sight type of threaten. I'm talking about, baby, I wear orange jumpsuit if you get me up. And it got to the point where I got more scared of myself than I was of him. It got to the point where God gave me an ultimatum. Like, hell, if either you leave the state, Candace, either you leave or you're going to wear an orange jumpsuit. Because I knew that I wasn't getting my ass beat no more. You know what I mean? And I wasn't going to be unalived. Nobody was going to if anybody was going to keep me away from my kids, it was going to be God or myself. But ain't nobody just going to strip me from the life of my kids. No, I wasn't having that. And so the Lord, like I said, I'm Christian, and I do discern a lot and I have visions. And, one thing that, the Holy Spirit has always done for me, he shows me stuff and he warns me. You know what I'm saying? And God knows that I have a daring spirit. I'm a person, if you talking about jumping and being froggy, you ain't got to ask me that, because by the time you get the question out your head, I done leaped. You know what I mean? So I used to go to this church. I used to go every morning to prayer before I jumped states, before I left, finally, right? And when I used to go to prayer, this woman I didn't know used to pray over me every morning. And she prophesied to me, and she was like, look, she said, if you go through with what you thinking about doing, and I had not talked to this woman. I had not told her anything about what I was thinking about doing. But she knew, because when you really know God, and I'm not talking about religion and going to church and doing a feel-good message. No, I'm talking about people who spiritually are led by God and they know God. If you don't know him like that, you can't even talk to me, because I already know you don't understand. But anyways, she was talking to me about a conversation I had with God and nobody was around. So she told me, she said, Candace, if you do it, you go into prison. And I chuckled. I chuckled and I looked her dead in the eye and I said, but sister so-and-so, he never said I wouldn't do it. And when I said those words, it was like something clicked for her and something clicked for me. And that's when I knew I had to get the hell up out of the city, the state that I lived in, because I didn't want my kids burying me, but I also didn't want my kids to have to visit me in prison. Okay. So I'm sorry I had to go on that little spiel. Y'all know I like to talk on this channel. My thoughts and prayers are with the family of Jennifer Bellony at this very, very sad time. If y'all have a GoFundMe, like I said, just hit me up, send me the link. I'll put it in the description box below. To all my viewers, like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you have any questions or concerns, hit me up. Feel free. This isn't just a channel for Candace Yvette. This is a channel for all Black women. I'm for all Black women. I'm not going to compartmentalize. I don't do all of that. Over here, I don't care what background you from. This channel is for all Black women. Okay. Y'all be safe, be alert, be aware. I'm signing off.